What's going on, everybody? Welcome to It's Live, ITZ Live for InTheZone.io. I'm Johnny VTV. I'm joined by Nick Durst and Kyle Donnelly. Welcome to our debut kickoff show. How's it going, boys?
Just another day.
What's up, guys? Johnny, what's that? We got a nice little picture up there over your shoulder. Is that the chairman of the board? Who is that? Is that Frank Sinatra?
That is our boy, Arthur Shelby. Anybody ever seen Peaky Blinders? One of the best shows, maybe the best show on TV. Arthur Shelby is one of the brothers. Sick picture. And, dude, if you haven't seen Peaky Blinders, strongly recommend it. I've seen it 7 times.
Never seen it. Also, not like I'm not like what I'm seeing over Kyle's right shoulder right now. Scott Stevens, Devils jersey. Ugh. Yeah.
Okay, Nick, you got to live with it, bro. That's the enforcer. That's the enforcer right there.
All right, boys. So we got a lot to talk into. I'm happy we're able to get this show going on the road. But, dude, it doesn't stop. We got all this sports talk. Let's get after it. First topic of the day. Alex Rodriguez is now a part owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Lynx. What are we thinking about this? Do we like the move?
I'm thinking, what is J-Lo thinking? Because I want to know what's her deal right now. Everyone's saying, oh, the Mets dodge a bullet because J-Lo and A-Rod splitting here. And now imagine they are owning the Mets. I don't know. I think that might actually save their potential marriage because they would have been a tighter bond. They would have been more invested. You knew A-Rod wanted to get involved in something, but the Minnesota Timberwolves, I don't know. I figured it was going to either be a baseball team or another sport. I figured it was going to be in one of the hot spots, hubs of America,
Like
LA,
really
Boston,
yeah.
Philly, New York. So I don't know. I mean, I think if you're the Timberwolves fan, you should be excited about this because I think A-Rod's going to try to do his best to put Minnesota and the Timberwolves back on the map here as far as a contender because the Timberwolves haven't been good since they got Latrell Sprewell, and him and Kevin Garnett had a good season. Karl-Anthony Towns is trash. Wiggins was terrible. And this franchise is just abysmal. It's a real shame. The Minnesotians deserve better.
What do you think, Kyle? Yeah, I mean, listen, honestly, Nick, you should have started a couples retreat, and you should have.
I agree with Nick here. I think he should have probably stayed within the sport. I would have figured he would have been a baseball owner before being a basketball owner. That's the part where it's kind of thrown me off. I don't know how he'll apply his professional craft from what he learned being a pro into managing in a different sport. That's going to be the interesting transition here.
Well, the key with A-Rod, and the reason why I liked his Mets bid, him and J-Lo want to make me feel entertained, build up the community around it, get these concerts and stuff, wrestling events or whatever at Citi Field. But I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking if there is events in Minnesota, which there probably are, they're already probably at the Timberwolves arena. How many more options are there? I mean, it's freezing cold. Nobody's going outside there in Minnesota. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think he's just desperate to rebound here. He's had a rough last couple of months. No J-Lo, no Mets. He's still got Sunday Night Baseball. He's still the face of baseball, which is pretty cool. Can't complain on that. But he's living in Miami. He's golfing in Dominican Republic. He's working in Los Angeles and Connecticut. How much time is this guy really going to spend in Minnesota? Let's keep in mind that he's going in with Lori, who is a very wealthy man. It's a minority stake. We'll see. We'll see how long it takes till they become majority owners. But you know what, John? We just saw LeBron become a minority owner with the Red Sox. So this is just something for these guys to build their portfolios and something they think about for their egos. Because honestly, what is this minority stake for LeBron or for A-Rod really amount to? Not much. You're a minority owner. You can't do anything really.
I can't wait to see what LeBron's going to do as a minority owner as far as suggesting, here or there different little ways of, his little input on who he thinks is good. I don't know. It should be intriguing. Keep your popcorn ready.
You know something I really liked? I like this move. This is a business decision. Honestly, what did we see at the end of A-Rod's career as a Yankee? They did everything they could to not get him to 700 home runs, so they would have to pay him that massive bonus. He was basically in essence, kicked out of baseball. Nobody wanted him. He was a pariah, leaves, kind of takes a step back, reinvents himself. Like you said, he's literally – is there anybody that's got it better than Alex Rodriguez right now? Anybody? No. I mean, in terms of business, in terms of his personality, if he's still got J-Lo in the picture, everything's going well. So he's an athlete, but he's also a businessman. So I like this move. And you know something? There was actually talks, and of course this is all a rumor right now, that given his deep ties to the Seattle Mariners going back almost 30 years ago, there was talks that maybe could the Timberwolves potentially relocate to Seattle to give them the replacement that they have been begging
to bring back the Supersonics, right?
Exactly. I love this move. I think it's great, and it takes effect in 2023 after current owner Glenn Taylor is going to be, eased on out the door. So
keep an eye on this. I think the Orioles are going to be sold in Baltimore in the next 4 years, and I think A-Rod should be considered a front runner, although maybe he can't afford it without J-Lo's money.
I'm definitely going to say yes to that because J-Lo, I think, was probably the bread earner, even despite that massive contract he had with the Yankees. So it's like the same thing with Tom Brady and his situation. He's not the bread maker in that house.
For sure. But I think we could all agree that we love the Alex Rodriguez ownership, that it should end in at least a business success. Timberwolves haven't had much success on the court, since the early 2000s, but who knows how this could turn around here. Let's move it on here. Let's jump into the NFL because there's something that has been circulating the internet for the last 24 hours, and people have lost their minds. Let's do it. Julian Edelman. He looks like he's calling it quits. He's got that recurring knee injury at 34 years old. He was part of some great teams in New England, won 3 Super Bowls. Obviously with Tom Brady, he was the successor to Wes Welker in the slot, that, small white slot guy that just could do it all, especially as a punt returner. There's been a lot of talks. Is he a Hall of Famer? Do we think he's going to crack into Canton?
To be fair, though, real quick before I'll let Nick go first here, he is not calling it quits. To be fair, the man is retiring because of an injury that has forced him out of the game, and not the only one he's had, but it's been multiple over the last couple seasons. He's been very injury prone, but unfortunately, that's part of the game. But Nick, if you'll care to,
I think it's a forced retirement. He failed his physical, right? So the Patriots said we're not playing you. It's the crude side of the NFL where they can cut you or whatever. So if he retires, he could still get paid this year. So I don't think this is the end of Julian Edelman. I think Johnny VTV is going to agree. Maybe not this year, but next year he's going to be playing for the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's maybe going to go the Gronkowski route, take a year off. He'll come back. Maybe Brady's age 48 season, he'll be making an impact. But I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. The way you get in the Hall of Famer is you're either an all-pro or you're a quarterback, and he's neither of those. So great postseason career, but no Pro Bowls, never an all-pro, never his time in the NFL was he the best at his position. So I just think with the way the Hall of Fame voting goes, it'd be really tough for him to get into the Hall of Fame.
He really, like you said, he's got one of the best postseason careers ever, period. Only behind Jerry Rice when you think about wide receivers in the postseason. He's got one of the greatest catches ever in the Super Bowl. Arguably right there with David Tyree. As far as I'm concerned, it's either or. But again, it doesn't make you a Hall of Famer with all that. But, a great career is a great career. There's no shorting that. The man, as far as I'm concerned, the fact that he hasn't been an All-Pro, that I don't know how much stock I would put into that because there's plenty of guys that haven't been All-Pros. And they should have been. And there's plenty of guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame right now that should be. There's so many different cases where you can, maneuver things around, and it's just, I don't know. I'm very non-definitive on it because my wife's a Patriots fan. That was probably part of it, so I got to be careful, as she's in the other room of what I say. But that being said, hell, I'd have him on my team. I'd put him on, this team right here. You know what I'm saying? I put him on that team, no problem. No question.
Forget the All-Pro. It's the Kyle All-Couch team. Edelman's jersey's going right there next to Scott Stevens.
Listen, not for nothing, I agree with you guys. Julian Edelman, no shot. The problem is people think he's a Hall of Famer because he's part of those Patriot teams. He's had a great postseason resume, but let's call it what it is, dude. The guy has less than 7,000 career yards. He's got 36 career touchdowns. He's only got 620 career catches. If guys like Hines Ward, Roddy White, Reggie Wayne, Chad Ochocinco Johnson, Andre Rison, I already said Reggie Wayne. If those guys are not in the Hall of Fame, Torrey Holt, there's no way Julian Edelman is going to be a Hall of Famer. It's just that cut and dry. And I'm tired of people that actually think that he has a legitimate bid. Like, bro, no, he doesn't. If he does, it's because he was on the Brady and Belichick tee and he performed well in the postseason, which kudos. He was a very good player, and he was somebody that really lived up to the billing for what the Patriots needed. But no. Anybody who thinks he's a Hall of Fame,
7th round pick too, by the way.
Reevaluate your priorities. He is not.
I want to see Ochocinco in the Hall of Fame. Just for
Dude, Steve Smith.
To be a great
Yeah, bro.
Steve Smith, he just
Steve
retired.
Smith is without a doubt a Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, of course. But I'm saying all these guys are Hall of Famers, but there's no way if they're not in the Hall yet that he is. Even a guy like Donnelly.
What is there? There's only 31, 32 wide receivers in the Hall of Fame. So it's not, like I said, you got to be either an All-Pro or you got to be a quarterback.
Yeah, you absolutely have to be. Julian Edelman, nothing on his resume stands out besides those 3 Super Bowl rings, which is a fantastic accomplishment.
He did have a Super Bowl MVP as a wide receiver.
Yes, he did. But guess what, bro? He has no Pro Bowl appearances. Why would I think that somebody who never
He's never
made a Pro Bowl. He's never made a Pro Bowl.
Yeah, so I think you're talking about it's tough to get in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Jeff Fiegel is the greatest punter of all time. You can't get him in the Hall of Fame. This guy's punted more miles than the span of the United States. So it's biased. They're very biased in the Hall of Fame too. Quarterbacks, running backs, and defensive ends. And that's the way the voting goes. And maybe that'll change in the future as we get younger voters here and watch the game
alignment in there too.
All right, and also, and we'll talk about this. How is the 17-game schedule going to impact things? Right, because now the stats are going to be skewed. If you put Dan Marino playing in a 17-game schedule with the rules today, no one's going to touch his stats. But now Patrick Mahomes is going to pass everybody because he's going to have an extra 2 or 3 years of his career once everything adds up.
Weapons on that offense.
Nick, I'm glad that you brought that up because that is our next point. The NFL 17-game season, they decided coming into this year that they want to do 17 games because 16 is not good enough.
Bad.
NFL, yay NFL. But let's call it what it is. This is going to be a precursor probably to an 18-game season somewhere very soon down the road. Do we like this? Is this good or bad, this 17-game season?
Nick, you first or me?
Go ahead, Kyle.
All right. I think this is completely awful. The NFL stresses that they want player safety, and this is the exact opposite. You're they say they're not lengthening the season by not giving another preseason game, but now you're adding another game that counts and is way more seriously taken. And they're, especially, coming down to the end of the season when playoff time is, it's crunch time. Guys are going to sacrifice it and do what they need to do in order to get into the playoffs, and they'll throw their bodies around. So being somebody that played football for 11 years, that's what you do. I think this is completely hypocrisy as far as like being for player safety. Great for the NFL as far as making money. They'll make a ton of money because they got another game that, like you said, John, will lead to an 18th game and then more money. It's all about the green.
Yeah, I'm not happy about this at all. Nick, we actually talked about this a couple weeks ago on your show, and I agree. It's all hypocrisy. I was sickened by it. I understand that the NFL is a business, but you can't with one hand say, listen, we're all about player safety. We want the best for our players. And the owners say the same thing. And on the other hand, be like, oh, well, you know something? Let's add another game in. And over time, we're going to add 2 more games. But they're like, oh, well, we're cutting out 2 preseason games. So what? Are you kidding me? preseason, the players don't even play as it is. It's all for guys trying to make the roster. And yes, the NFLPA, they agreed to it, but that's because they were getting paid a little bit more money, especially with the new media rights on the TV deals and whatnot. But when it comes down to a cash flow, it's not really that much more. It's not a huge difference. And aside from that fact, I cannot stand that they're promoting this like it's such a good thing. Like, you're going to have all these records shattered. Imagine Derrick Henry with 17-game season last year. Adrian Peterson at 20.
Right out of my mouth.
Eric Dickerson's, his records are gone. Julio Jones and Calvin Johnson in 2012 and 2015, they have over 2,000 yards receiving. Patrick Mahomes is going to have all the records. It's going to be Matt Ryan, how many times he would have 5,000 yards, Romo, Rivers, Matthew Stafford, Drew Brees. The list goes on, and you got a guy
Manning, Brady.
You got a guy like Justin Herbert, who's going to have – or Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence, who's going to have 17 games his entire career. If he plays 17 seasons, that's equivalent to a full season. Nick, what do you think?
I think I'm more excited for the potential of an XFL-CFL merger than I am for the 17-game of an NFL season.
That sounds pretty good, actually. The XFL-CFL
it's happening.
Merger, right?
The Rock and CFL are talking.
My man.
Today. So, yeah, I don't really that thrilled about this. Why is the NFL king? It's because they always leave their audience wanting more because there's only 16 games. Now we're going to have a 19-week season with 17 games. And then we're going to eventually have a 19-week season with 18 games or a 20-week season with 18 games. And it's just going to be oversaturated, I think. Maybe the only pro to this could be potentially that the Super Bowl gets pushed back a week. And it's before President's Day and everyone's off.
I mean, listen, that's the only good thing. But like you said, it's oversaturated. And the fact of the matter is, if it is oversaturated, even as somebody that lives for gambling, fantasy, and sitting on my couch on every Sunday watching football for 12 straight hours, I don't like this. The game is good. There's an old adage. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the NFL is trying to fix this, and it's not good. I don't like it. I understand they want to make more money because the billions and billions every year they make is not good enough to dilute their product. But at some point, you got to draw the line. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I hate it. And most of all, it's for the player safety. Like, let's call it what it is. Patrick Mahomes was nowhere close to being ready for that Super Bowl. There's no way you pass concussion protocol in 4 days. 4 days? Are you serious? You saw the hit that he took against Cleveland and how the way his head hit the ground. Dude, there is no way in hell a normal person even gets out of concussion protocol in less than 3-4 weeks, I would say, just till their head is fully normal. But you think the NFL was going to be like, oh, you know what, dude? Like, no. Like, I don't care if you got a concussion. You're gonna get back out there. Let's call it what it is. There's no way that guy's ready to play. So it's all about the dollars. Like, they weren't going to have Chad Henne start a Super Bowl. Like, it wasn't going to happen. So money comes before player safety, and I don't want to hear about it. It is full of hypocrisy.
Very well said. Very well said. But also, too, not just for the player safety, but like you said, the records will be essentially meaningless. You know, you're erasing the lineage of what, some of the great stories of the NFL is by doing this. Especially, like, it essentially cheapens if Derrick Henry were to win it this year. Because, it essentially wouldn't matter. Nick, you got anything to add on here?
It's rewriting the history books, so we'll see what the impact is many years from now when it comes to Hall of Fame voting and whatnot. They changed once before from 14 to 16. That changed everything, but eventually everyone just kind of went with it, and it's probably what's going to happen again.
Yeah, man, it's going to be definitely something to look out for. So from football onto baseball, Nick, we had a real deep conversation about this. Couldn't stand how it went down, especially as Met fans. The MLB rainout situation. How does the league fix this? They start this game with the Mets yesterday. Marcus Stroman was heated. He goes out there in the first inning. He's throwing a few pitches, and before you know it, they call the game. But it was the Mets' decision to actually send everybody out there, and he was heated. He wasn't happy about it. I tend to agree with him.
It's brutal. They took a page right out of the Yankees playbook. The Yankees do this all the time. Because you realize in a 9-pitch non-game, how much money a baseball team makes? $30 per car for parking. You getting a refund for that? Nope. Beers, hot dogs, peanuts, Cracker Jacks, Shake Shack, Blue Smoke, the team store. The Mets, any team is making so much money. That's why they do this bullshit, because they want you to come to the ballpark, spend $150. They'll keep your money. And you know what? Oh, why don't you come back again in 2 months? We'll do a split doubleheader. You come in the afternoon and pay again. And if you want to stay for the night game, leave the stadium and then come back in again. You could pay triple the admission. It's nonsense and it's ridiculous. And I was annoyed that Stroman says, "Oh, it sucks. Now I got to wait 5 days to pitch." You pitched 9 pitches. You could come out and pitch the next day, damn it. But you know what? The Mets get rained out the next day, and now he's supposed to pitch tonight. Is Stroman going to be the emerged player of the night for me? Probably not. He might be too tired from those 9 pitches he threw Sunday in the rain. Jeez. Unbelievable, this guy. Just the rain thing is nonsense. And here's what they got to do, guys. In April, you need to only play division games because the Mets are going to Colorado this weekend. It's going to be 20 degrees and a blizzard. And when are they going back to Denver to make up the game with the Rockies? They aren't. So for the first 3 weeks where you get the April showers that are supposed to bring May flowers, but usually bring more May showers, let the do games that are geographically make sense. Let the Mets play the Phillies. Let the Mets play. And the other thing is you got these teams in the domes and these teams in Florida, and you got them coming to freaking Boston for opening day. The game needs to be in Florida, in a dome, or in Arizona, or in the, you got to avoid the cold weather. And the easiest way to avoid these rainouts is for these teams to build stadiums, to not go cheap and put a freaking dome or retractable roof on the stadium, especially when you're in New York City. If the team, both the Yankees and the Mets, and the Giants and the Jets, if you were smart, you put a freaking roof over the stadium and you make that money back in 2 seasons with the amount of concerts, NCAA Final Fours, wrestling, pay-per-view. The Super Bowl would be at MetLife Stadium every 4 years if they had a freaking roof on the stadium. Citi Field, Yankee Stadium would get so many events if they put a retractable roof. So it's ridiculous, and it all comes down to money. The owners are too cheap to build a roof, and the owners are too cheap to cancel a game. And there's nothing worse and more miserable when you're a fan than you know that you paid all this money and they're not canceling the game, and you got to pay to commute there. You park, you're in a poncho, you got to wipe off the seat. It's disgusting. It's pouring. You're eating food, and then they say, "Go home."
So it's safe to say that you're in favor of the MLB needing to do something about the rainout situation. Is that
MLB
fair?
should control when the game is canceled or not. It should not be up to the team. It should be up to the league office.
Kyle, what do you got? What do you got to add, my man?
Well, I want to elaborate on Nick's idea as far as getting as far as playing divisional teams only, which I agree with. But also, let's get rid of the interleague play. Yeah. How about that one? I really don't like the interleague play as much. I kind of like the old school baseball of the more regional and playing teams within your league. I'm more of a fan of that, and plus, I feel like it was better off. Like you didn't really have as many of these issues as you do now, because now you have scheduling conflicts with. If some Seattle has a retractable dome. So like if they got a concert going on and, say the Marlins are in town, how can you really, just it's a little something different, because I really can't do it much better than what Nick just laid out. I mean, that is a New Yorker taking it to pride right there, my friend. I really appreciated that. But, Brody, or not Brody Van Wagen. Wow. Uncle Stevie Cohen is talking about putting a retractable dome on Citi Field. I don't know if that'll happen, but we'll see what happens, I guess, huh?
Listen, Kyle, what the hell have you been smoking, dude? Seriously, have you been drinking on the job again? I told you about that.
Nope.
How do you want to cut?
I don't do that. Don't you dare
I
go
don't
start
know.
rumors about me.
Listen, you start drinking on the job right now. You're trying to cut interleague play, my man. No shot. Bro, there are some good games that go on between the two leagues. Like, for example, if you said no interleague play, we're not going to get a Subway Series. How I want my Subway Series, goddammit. Like, come on, dude. I like seeing a team like the Mets and the Blue Jays square it off. I'm a big fan of teams from the NL West going to play the AL East and vice versa. And everywhere across the U.S., these teams travel to go play teams outside their conference. I think we need that. I'm a huge fan of it. And the fact that you're trying to take it away, no good, brother, no good. But in terms of the rainouts, listen, they got to do something here because
maybe not entirely take it away, but like limit the amount of games. Like maybe not like how many is it now? Like 6 or 8? Maybe limit it to 4. Just limit it back a little bit and play more league games.
Perhaps or perhaps not. I think not. In any case, I think the biggest thing is like you know what the MLB rainouts to me is like? It's like when you want to go to the NBA and watch your favorite player. Like you pay, and this has been a topic of issue in the past with said NBA All-Stars. I remember hearing about it. Like, let's say this family, a family of 4, a father wants to take his family to go see LeBron James play. He's in town versus, I don't know, let's call it the Milwaukee Bucks before they were good. So let's say a father takes him there, but LeBron decides he needs the rest. He's not going to play. So now this guy is spending hundreds of dollars when it's all said and done to take his family to see LeBron James play, and he's not even going to play. So it's kind of the same thing here. You're going to watch your baseball team, and then they're just going to pull the plug last second. I mean, listen, I get it. It's player versus the game, but NBA games aren't canceled on account of weather unless you play in an outdoor stadium, which I have yet to see one. So if anybody has, point one out to me. But I'm not a big fan of it. The rainouts, they got to be decided well before, and I understand it's not always feasible, but MLB, it's not like the NFL where you're going to play through rain. The only time the NFL cancels a game is if there's lightning and they're trying to suspend it. Like, I only remember 2 or 3 games ever since I've been watching football that an NFL game has been pushed on account of weather. But they absolutely can't hurting the common fan like this. It's honestly not fair to them.
Yeah, you want to talk about real like you said, screwing the common fan, and that's exactly what is happening. But like Nick said, they'll take their money for what they got out of parking that day, and then they'll put it in their pocket, and then guess what? Come back for another day. So.
You know something? We actually, speaking of the MLB right now, we're digging into them today because the next thing is, and they did a terrible job of this. They need to be called out for it. The extra inning rule. How could it improve? Because if anybody remembered, guys, we're starting from second base, dude. I mean, the fact of the matter is, they got rid of the old rules, and for the reason of they wanted to save the bullpens and trying to eliminate the 16, 17-inning games that, quite frankly, weren't that common to begin with. And in turn, we've had a handful of extra inning games so far this season, and we're only 10, 11 games into 2021. And how many times has a game gone into extras where they're going 10, 11, 12 innings because you're starting the guy that got the previous out on second base? I can't stand it. And not for nothing, it's totally ridiculous, and it skews the game more, in my opinion, for trying to aid the time and save the bullpen arms. They're really saturating and diluting the product, in my opinion. Boys, what say you?
Well, this is a terrible rule. They shouldn't have brought it up to begin with. I think they should have just left it in the minors. That this is a minor league rule that is now going to just be forced and imposed on us, and it's going to become part of the norm. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Quite frankly, you're taking away free baseball from people. I think part of the beautiful, majestic part of the sport is, extra innings and anything can happen. And the way that baseball's romantic and anything can happen. You start taking that away once okay, somebody's going to start here, and then game's over, 10th inning. How many of those extra inning games have actually gone past the 10th inning this year?
None. I don't think any.
Are we sure about that? Can we fact check that? I was pretty sure I seen a couple like 11 inning games.
It's possible. But listen, the thing is, they need to play real baseball. So play real baseball. Enough of these double headers with the 7 innings. I get why you did it last year. This year, it makes no sense to do a 7-inning doubleheader, especially if you're doing a split doubleheader with the 1 o'clock and the 7 o'clock game. That makes no sense to do 7-inning games. Do 9-inning games. A runner on second base in the 10th is an international rule, which you see in softball and the World Baseball Classic. It's nonsense, and it's ruining the game. It's just pure luck if you're going to win. And you know what? If you're the away team, you have a distinct advantage, and that takes away the whole thing of home field advantage. I hate it. And you know what? MLB knows it's nonsense because they don't use this rule in the postseason. So why do we have to waste our time watching them? It's so frustrating. If you want to watch a team, maybe they have this epic comeback in the 9th, and it goes to the 10th, they lose because a runner was on second base. If you want to do something, make the runner on second base have to be a pitcher or the backup catcher or something, because this is just nonsense. If you want to do the runner on second base, well, it shouldn't be in the 10th inning. Maybe do it in the 13th or 14th inning. Play real baseball. Let's get back to fundamentals here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hate this rule on second base because, in essence, and Nick, stop me if I'm wrong, I think what you're referring to, the away team has an advantage. If they score 1, now if you're the home team, now you got to score 2 to win, like to walk it off. So it makes it a little bit difficult. And in addition to the extra inning rule, which, listen, 2020 was totally different. It was a 60-game sprint, so everything has to be taken with a grain of salt. Now that's over with, and we're back to normal baseball and a 162 that we can all rely on. Things have to change. And listen, and the next thing is, I understand why they want to do this extra inning rule, but it's got to go. Along with that, something that MLB hasn't done is decide to switch over to universal DH. And don't get me wrong, like, I like seeing some pitchers hit, but and growing up I liked it as well. But I'm not totally against seeing the National League convert into getting the DH. I think there would be a much more balanced league between the two. The NL has always been made fun of that for decades, that they're easier because pitchers get almost a free out when they're pitching to a guy that has 1 hit in his last 50 at bats. You know what I'm saying? So I think the MLB's got some things to look at, deeply over this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. They got some things that they got to work on as far as growing their popularity. Their sport's dying. So quite frankly, they need to right the ship and figure it out quickly, because like the TV show Brockmire, we'll be looking at having player stoppages like every 5 years at the rate that we're going. And not only that, but the fans are getting tired of it. And what we need to do is we need to just right the ship, get it figured out, and go forward. Stop with all this nonsense. Get rid of this extra innings rule. Let baseball be baseball, and that's it.
So that being said, we're really attacking the MLB tonight. We got one more thing to look at, and this was by far the worst thing. This is the type of thing that drives people away from your sport. And like you just said, Kyle, the sport is dying, and they need to start bringing people back. So without further ado, the MLB replay rule. I think we could all agree significant changes need to be made after the blown call on Sunday night between the Braves and the Phillies. It doesn't matter what team you support. Alec Baum was on third base testing Marcell Ozuna's arm on a short fly ball to left field. And Marcell Ozuna got a hose. He knows what he's doing out there. Decides to tag up, clearly gets thrown out. The guy never even touches the base, but the umpire calls him safe, and that gave the Phillies the deciding advantage when the Braves actually got hosed. We take it back to last week when, Michael Conforto had a full count, a 1-2 count against the Marlins, leaned in with his elbow clearly. They couldn't review it. And kudos to the Mets with Keith Hernandez and Gary Cohen. even though they're Mets broadcasters, obviously, you're going to be a homer. They ripped into it. What is the point of having replay? There has to be a lot of changes made because not only are they getting these calls wrong when they're obvious, but they're taking way too much time. These calls are taking 3-4 minutes when they shouldn't be taking more than 90 seconds.
Yeah, the MLB really has to, and here we're digging into them yet again, but, when it's so clear, I mean, you had 9 different angles on national or 5, whatever it was. Point is, you had multiple angles on national television, and it's clear as day. Clear as day, 1080p, really good, that HDMI setup in your living room. And you see it, and I mean, not to be offensive, but are these guys blind? What the hell is going on back there? This is just another problem that MLB has, and they need to correct is the umpires. And they were even talking about not even having the umpires call balls and strikes behind home plate and just have, the digital strike zone. And then umpires would just be there for, home plate calls. Now they can't even get that right, even with replay help. So where do you go? Where do we go from here with baseball? Because it just seems like everything is going wrong and everything's falling apart and the sport is dying, like I said. And it's just not getting any better.
What are you thinking, Nick?
The problem is that the replays are verifying what we think at home, but they're not changing it, the calling, because the letter of the law. So they need to maybe fix the rules about how you can enforce the replay. And this is going to be a topic all season. I'm sure we'll talk about it again. But, I personally thought that in order to score, you had to actually touch home plate. But apparently, what we saw in Sunday Night Baseball is that's not the case. But maybe because it's something, it's always like, oh, you can't review this, or you can look to see if it hit the batter, but you can't review if it's a strike or not. So I don't know. We'll say I think we should sideline this topic for now because it's going to be rearing its head all throughout the season.
All I know is they got to get their shit together, man. They really do. And listen, if you're an umpire, human error happens. Nobody's perfect. You're going to make mistakes. And when things happen as fast as they do on a baseball field, on a football field, you're not going to get every call right. And that's okay. That's what, like you said, instant replay was instituted for. But when you're looking at it for 3-4 minutes and you still don't change the call, bro, are you kidding me? But this is going to be something that we talk about all season long, I'm sure.
We digress, and yet we'll be talking about it over and over and over again.
All right, as we're wrapping up our show here, I got a couple of my bets on the Gambling Guineas best betting plays of the night, bringing it to you on this Tuesday. First off,
where are the sunglasses? First off, where are your sunglasses?
Bro, we're shelving them for today. Listen, Ashbet. First off, we got the Cincinnati Reds. We're taking their money line. It's basically even money at the San Francisco Giants tonight. Listen, Cincinnati has been roaring. They've been the best offense in baseball. However, they hit a little bit of skid in Arizona, but they got a nice W in San Fran last night. Luis Castillo on the bump. I love it. I think it's a strong play. They are the underdogs. I don't hate them at the first 5 either. First 5 money line, which is minus 115. But I'm going to take them for the full game. And I think Luis Castillo is going to have another strong performance building off that gem he threw against the Pirates. Next, guys, what day is it? It is Shane Bieber Day. There are 2 certainties in life. When Shane Bieber is pitching, you take the over on his strikeouts and you take the game under first 5, which against the White Sox today is going to be 3.5. Bieber over on the 9.5 Ks. Listen, that is a lot of strikeouts, but he's averaging 12 strikeouts a game per start this season. The guy is literally like 90% on his strikeout overs dating back to last season. And in his last 15 starts, I believe the Indians and the first 5 under in that game is 13-2. I could be wrong, but it's trending around over 90% on that one. But I'm pretty sure that's where we're at. So I think the White Sox and the Indians, who, the White Sox also got Lucas Giolito on the mound tonight. I think they both go under 3.5 in the first 5. Next, we got the Padres run line -1.5 against the Pirates. Blake Snell on the bump. Hugh Darvish, great game. Pittsburgh, listen, we knew it was going to be a long season for them. They have a lot of young guys, and Gregory Polanco's out of the lineup. I think Blake Snell comes in, has a strong 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, 2 walks, no runs performance, and I think the Padres should put up another 6 or 7 piece like last night. And last but not least, and I hate doing this, but the AL East, we're going to talk about the Blue Jays, and we're talking about the Yankees. I like the under at 9. Yankees lineup's been struggling a little bit, and the Blue Jays are sporting Hyun-Jin Ryu on the mounds. Both offenses haven't really been blowing it up like they were, early last week. So I think the under 9 is a reasonable trend. Ryu has been very strong. And guys, who's pitching for the Yankees? Anybody want to take a guess?
Garrett Cole.
Ding, ding, ding. G. Cole, Ryu, round 2, just like on opening day. I think the under is a strong play. Your Honor, no objections.
Cole's due for a bad game. Is Gary Sanchez catching? That's what I want to know.
I believe Gary Sanchez is behind the dish tonight.
That is a big, big, big question. Very big question tonight.
He is catching. Absolutely. He's not only catching, but he's batting 5. 5 alive. What are we thinking? Is Johnny VTV going to be on the money tonight, or how are we feeling about this? Any comments?
I like where your head's at. I really do. The fact that you said Sanchez behind the plate, that just throws the biggest monkey wrench into that whole plan. If anything, though, I would make an honorable mention. Maybe tonight, if you switch sports, maybe go a little hockey. Devils plus 155 money line.
Ooh, NJ Dad.
At home against the Rangers. Rangers got a lot on the line. They got to get 8 points to get into the playoffs, and Devils can play spoiler. Why not against their biggest rival?
And while we're talking about Cleveland baseball, let's mention our emerging star of the night, brought to you by our friends at Emerge Marketing Strategies. Let's get after it. The guy who I'm about to mention is our star on the rise in the Cleveland Indians organization, also a friend of mine, so it's great to see him succeed. He is known for his strikeouts, high heat fastball, and a power slider. Your Emerge star of the night, James Karinchak. You all know this name. They call him the Wild Thing. He wears number 99. He's an absolute savage on the mound, bro. He looks like Mad Max Scherzer yelling at himself, biting his glove. It's a joy to watch. And, of course, there are very few pitchers in the game with the amount of swing and miss ability that number 99 possesses on Cleveland. So that's the guy to look out for. He did not pitch last night, so I got to think he's going to be out of the pen getting some work. I think Bieber's going to go 7 strong innings, strike out 10 to 12 guys, and Karinchak, if he doesn't come in for the 8th, comes in for a save opportunity at the bottom of the 9th. So with that being said, we have some final thoughts here. Guys, next week, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming NFL draft. I really am curious about where this is going to go. Do you guys have any teams that you're really looking out for to potentially make a move?
I think we need to keep an eye on if the Falcons are going to end up trading down.
Okay, that's one to look out for. I'm just trying to think who needs a quarterback that can move up. I really don't. I mean, it's the writing's on the wall that San Francisco's taking a quarterback. So maybe New England moves up. I mean, maybe, but I think they're committed to Cam Newton. Maybe Washington. Washington does something and surprises you and mortgages their future to go get a quarterback. Maybe.
Well, you know what? The good thing is we can always talk about it next week. All right, guys. Everybody follow us on Twitter at InTheZoneIO. I'm Johnny VTV. Nick Durst, and this is Kyle, who only has Instagram. So check us out on the gram at In the Zone, Gambling Guinea, Nick's Food and Stuff, and the Kyle Donnelly. Listen, it's a lot of accounts, but it's also a lot of content and a lot of information and everything you need. For It's Live, I'm Johnny
It was
VT.
fun.
That's Nick Durst.
Great first episode.
And that is Kyle Donnelly. Guys, absolute pleasure. And I look forward to talking to you guys next week.
All right, guys.
Let's go Mets.
Ciao.
Go Sox.